rise and join me in welcoming back to the Creative Morning stage, Matt Brehony.
Wow. Wow. Thank you. All right, no, let's stay up. Let's keep this energy going. Keep this energy going. Keep this energy going. Can someone move the slide for me? There we go. All right, Richmond, how you feeling? Are you ready? Richmond, I got to point up here. Are you ready for caveats? I want to start with setting the terms and Sit down. You can sit down. Setting of the terms of expectations for this talk. The topic today is crossroads. I'm going to be talking about political polarization. And I've anguished over... Ooh, people are excited about this. Let's see. I've anguished over how to talk about political polarization without getting political. How do I not tip my hand to my own values and views? And I came to the conclusion that I can't, nor do I think I should, because as you'll see, I think the problem isn't that we talk about these things, it's how we talk about these things, right on. So for the next 20 minutes, I'm going to invite you all into my own imperfect, unvarnished worldview, rife with biases and blind spots, ripe for debate. I'm going to speak colorfully and candidly. I'm going to use some not safe for work language, like shit and fuck and diversity. But it's all in service of a future state that feels a little different than now, where we speak our truth, but hold it loose enough to be shaped by others. Y'all with me? Okay, good. Whew. Feel like a weight has been lifted off me and onto the people who agreed to let me speak. Let's start with a question. So why is a brand guy talking about political polarization? I don't know. Why is a wrestling entrepreneur running the Department of Education? Shit's weird. Maybe just go with it. Perhaps a more satisfying answer is that I've noticed how some of the same strategies we use in brand are at work in the American electorate. More on that later. But most honestly is that it just bothers me, and has for quite some time. The way what polarization does to our country, our culture, the way we talk or don't talk to each other has been an endless source of anxiety. And about 4 years ago, I started channeling that anxiety into art, culminating this week with the release of my new record, Snowflakes, available now on all streaming platforms. Y'all know what to do. Okay, sorry for the crass promotion. Let's see. Hold on, I'm still having trouble advancing this slide. No, that just made the QR code bigger. That added a compelling call to action. Is this like some sort of glitch with the Wi-Fi? Could we fix this? I'm trying to have a serious talk here, and this is embarrassing. Let's see if we can get this together. I bring up my record not only for the purposes of crass self-promotion, though that was an element of it, but because of what the record is about. Snowflakes is about this idea that we are indeed at a crossroads, or more accurately, we're at a series of several crossroads. Crossroads with our climate, with more extreme weather every year, and a shrinking window in which we can stave off permanent damage. A crossroads with democracy, a crossroads with this clicker, a crossroads with democracy, with faith in institutions in a free fall, and authoritarianism on the rise. A crossroads with technology. I wish I was taller right now. Where are we at? Oh, this is gonna be bad. Okay, whew. This is gonna get ugly. Let's see how this works. Stay with me, guys. Crossroads with technology, with AI promising to disrupt every facet of our culture and our economy, and no real plan in place with what we're gonna do about it. And sort of the heart of this record and the heart of my talk is that we can't deal with any of this because we are at a crossroads with each other. 47% of Americans believe that a civil war is likely in the coming years. Happy Friday, everybody. Let's go to Creative Mornings. It'll be energizing. Ooh, there's a brand guy talking. I want to learn about fonts. Sorry. Not in the cards today. But the question I would love to ask, had I been part of this survey, is why? Civil War over what? Answer that question in your head, and I promise you all have different answers, and they all sound a little ridiculous. Which strikes me as odd, because my understanding is that civil wars tend to be fought over pretty cut and dry issues. You are my property. I'd rather not be. We find ourselves at a crossroads, an excellent, excellent reason for a civil war. But what would the history books say if we unraveled at this moment? The United States of America was the longest-running democracy in the history of the world, whose wealth, power, and influence were unrivaled in its era. It invented the blues, jazz, rock and roll, and hip-hop, as well as the light bulb, the airplane, and the internet. It had the resiliency to endure a Great Depression, 34 recessions, and 2 world wars. And then, some people who peed sitting down wanted to pee standing up, and everything went to shit. Now, maybe your mind didn't go to trans rights as this divisive issue. Maybe it was women's rights. Maybe it was race or immigration or the economy. And there is no wrong answer, and that's part of my point here. We don't have an issue. It seems like we can't agree on anything. Can you imagine what it would be like if, not everyone agreed on everything, but just imagine in America where the majority of people at least saw eye to eye on some core issues? Can you imagine what that America would look like? Can you imagine what that America could achieve? Friends, hold on to your butts. You are living in that America. 67% of Americans believe we should prioritize renewable energy. 76% believe corporations have too much power. 82% believe our healthcare system should be fundamentally changed. 84% agree that economic inequality is a problem. But wait, there's more! 68% agree racial inequality is a problem. 64% want stricter gun laws. 78% support LGBTQ plus rights. And that divisive, wedge issue of trans rights, 64% of Americans are in favor of trans rights. In this survey, only about 10% were actively opposed. Where'd the division go? Now, I'm not saying we don't have real things that divide us, but what I am saying is that this is not a 50-50 country. This is a supermajority. This is the political will to make generational change. Hold that thought. Let's talk about dogs. This is Ricky. We adopted Ricky about 1.5 years ago. Oh boy, we have a story about this dog. Days before she was about to be put to sleep. She is a little mentally unstable, but obsessed with me, which is really all I ever wanted in a woman. A couple months later, we adopted Corby the Corgi. Corby is what would happen if a police chief got demoted to a mall security guard and then got demoted to whatever the hell this thing is. Which is to say, he has a bit of an outsized sense of authority for a creature of that stature. And he will sit in our window sort of scanning the scene for suspicious activity, particularly dogs. And when he sees one, he will bark. This will trigger Ricky, who in turn barks at Corby. Now we're barking at each other. Ricky, Corby, Corby, Ricky. This builds to a point where they actually cease to bark at each other, and they're now barking at the reverberations of previous barks. Meanwhile, the dog that started this whole thing is walking right by our front door, but our dogs don't notice because they're too busy barking at fucking barks. That is the state of our politics today. Some hot button issue enters our view. There's a reaction to the reaction, and so on. The issue itself comes and goes. No consensus is built, no progress is made. Nothing changes. There are more barks to bark at. So how do we fix this? Distract us with a treat, whistle loudly. The dog analogy kind of breaks down here. I don't claim to have a silver bullet answer. I would be suspicious of anyone that would. But what I do think we're seeing is a clear understanding of the problem. The problem isn't that there is division in our politics. The problem is that division is our politics. Polarization isn't a byproduct of some ideological disagreement. Polarization is the point. In the world of brand, it's called competitive positioning. You see what the competition is doing, their strengths and their weakness, and you position yourself as the contrast. It's a useful but incomplete strategy in brand. It's poison in the body politic. Thank you. So, while I don't present a solution to you, I do think there are things we can do in the way we change how we think about this, how we talk about this, that can help us shake off that barky bark energy we have. And it starts with breaking our binary mind. All of these dynamics that we treat as a choice, as a team that we pledge allegiance to, when in reality, they're continuums. What do I say now? Do I have my notes up here? My notes are gone! Okay. Treat as continuums. Yes, here we are. This thing is throwing me. I'm not saying that there is no place for binary thinking. There absolutely is a place. When you're under deadline, an election, those aren't times to sort of revel in the what-ifs. But those moments are rare. And what worries me is that much like someone who's suffering from PTSD always reverts to fight or flight mode, we are always reverting to crossroads mode. It's election day every day. And that makes us putty in the hands of the instigators and the extremists, of the strongmen and the snake oil salesmen, of the bullshit influencers and the bad faith actors of every stripe. So, what is my next slide? We all play along with the oldest con running. We ping and we pong, but who's holding the paddle? Insightful words by me. What, do you want me to lie and say I didn't write that? I did. There's that QR code again for you. So, now this guy gets off his phone. All right, it's persistence, baby. So, how do we go about breaking our binary mind? Well, it starts with what we're doing right here. Call out the game. If you see something, say something. And once you see it, you're going to see it everywhere. I'll give you an example that I think a lot of us are living through of a binary that's been ping-ponging around in our lives. Have you noticed how the vibe around work culture has shifted a bit in the last year? Not long ago, it was something like, at Globe Corp, we believe in the right of all of our employees to work from wherever they choose, should they choose to work at all. And we gently nudge you to join us for White Tears Wednesday, to watch our CEO cry for a full hour. 4 months later, buckle up, bitches, Globe Corp is coming back to the office. You may not look your supervisor in the eye, but you can compliment his abs. Every Wednesday is grab-ass happy hour. Attendance is mandatory. You pay for your own drinks. I exaggerate slightly. Went off the deep end there. But tell me that's not the vibe. All these CEOs on their podcasts being like, now we can finally run the company the way we want. You're the CEO, dude. So, come with me to the 1985-ish. Because what we're talking about here is part of a broader binary around what leadership looks like. So come with me to the era of the 1980s / maybe early 90s-ish. An era of innovation, an era of ambition, an era of the corporate cowboy. The Lone Ranger that calls all the shots. He's brash and mysterious, and the whole world seems to bend to his whim. Or maybe occasionally her whim, but she has to have big shoulder pads. This is, quick time out, this is a phenomenon. Sometimes fashion reveals just what stupid animals we are. How in the same way, if you see a bear in the woods, they tell you to look big to scare it off. Women had to enter the workforce like... I'm so confused. The voice sounds like a chick, but those shoulders. We should probably value its opinion just to be safe. But over time, things got more inclusive. Yes, in terms of gender, in terms of diversity, but but also in terms of the way decisions get made. It became less beholden to a sole ego and more democratic, more seats at the table, more consensus-driven. And this is beautiful, and this is progress, until it isn't. And the truth is that right now, a lot of decision-making, especially in corporate America, is maybe a little too consensus-driven, right? Too beholden to process for the sake of process, too cautious. I know this to be true because the hardest part of my job isn't helping my team come up with bold, creative ideas. It's getting organizations to commit to them. I know this is true because I know who some of y'all work for, and I see what your faces are doing right now. But this binary that's resurging, this Muskian resurgence of the corporate cowboy, let's acknowledge that while it's not coming out of nowhere, does this have to be the only alternative? Are we going to be stuck between these two extremes? Between a human chainsaw that's fueled on daddy issues and small dick energy, and 12 people sitting around a table going, I don't know, what do you think? What do you think? What do you think? What do you think? Should we table it? Table it? Table it? Let's table it. Oh, there's the gift for that one. Table it, table it, table it. Call out the game. But start with yourself. I'll give you an example from me where I found the binary magic working on me. So I'm a registered Democrat. Please hold your applause. But I pride myself on being an independent thinker and not being swayed by party propaganda. But damn, if I wasn't surprised to learn that Joe Biden was old. Dismissed it as just yet another piece of right-wing propaganda until he came out on that debate stage and went, we beat Medicare. And then, of course, the next day I was, oh, he's too old. He's got to step down. Well, he didn't get old overnight. It's generally not how aging works. But I didn't want to believe it, so I admittedly was too blind to see it. But how does this calling out the game not just lead us to becoming nihilists or some mealy-mouthed middle-of-the-roadists? We seek solidarity. Hold your values strong, hold them firm, but keep yourself open to anyone who shares them. I like to think of solidarity as empathy on a mission, right? And that's hard to do in this day and age because the whole thrust of our cultural economy has been about pushing us into narrower and narrower groups. I remember first seeing this in the world of music, where it seemed like overnight we went from having 8 genres to 800, each with their own little cloistered subculture. This then bled into the world of consumerism. Oh man, really gonna need the slides to work for me on this one. This bled into the world of consumerism, with brand after brand appealing to our irrepressible individuality. You like to do things a little bit differently. So why are you eating the same dumb mustard as everyone else? Try Dustard, Dark Mustard. How do you dustard? I don't want a dustard, I just want health care. Now we have these super sophisticated algorithms that blend bleeding edge tech and social science to speak to our most discrete desires in the most ham-fisted way possible. I feel like the algorithm treats us like the kids in those home makeover shows. You know how the host would spend like weeks getting to know his clients, the ins and outs of their tastes and their backstory, and then take all of 12 seconds to turn to the kid and be like, oh, and what are you into? And the kid's like, bananas? And then 6 months later, they're walking into a room that looks like this. Like a banana bed and a banana chandelier.
Why did I say bananas? Is this who I am?
The algorithm works overtime to crystallize any curiosity into an identity. And now our fractured identities are driving us in a million different directions. We grow increasingly isolated and suspicious of each other. We peacock our pain and mock the suffering of others. We elevate the most broken among us to be our avatars, which tracks because I think we're all a little bit broken right now. There's a lot to be angry about, a lot to be worried about, and not a lot of evidence that things are about to turn around right now. But I think it's important for us to remember that in moments like these, to give up hope isn't just unhelpful, it's fucking dumb. Imagine this scenario, if you will. A technology arrives with a promise of upending every industry from media to medicine. Among other things, it can create a piece of art, a work of art in an instant that would take a painter years to complete. Y'all know what I'm talking about? Of course I'm talking about AI. I'm talking about photography! Gotcha. French painter Paul Delaroche walked into the exhibition of the first daguerreotypes in 1840. And after his experience, he summed up what would become the conventional wisdom of his era. From today, painting is dead. Because from that perspective, painting did kind of die. Painting as a means of recording the visual world was instantly rendered inefficient, if not irrelevant. But did painting die, or did painting pivot? Impressionism, Expressionism, Cubism, Surrealism. Painting didn't die, painting found a new purpose. Another example, same phenomenon, very different world. In 2004, George W. Bush, despite the growing unpopularity of the Iraq War, won the presidential election handily. And the overwhelming consensus from political pundits across the spectrum was that if the Democrats were ever going to win, they're going to have to get serious and nominate a salt-of-the-earth, middle-of-the-road, middle-aged white guy from rural America. And just as predicted, 4 years later, a young, black community organizer from Chicago named Barack Hussein Obama was sworn in as president. Believe in black swans. A black swan phenomenon is something that was impossible until it wasn't. There's so much evidence of this in our history, and the annoying thing about humans is we tend to forget that it was impossible before, and we take it for granted. So, for our own edification, I'm just gonna randomly list a couple things from my lifetime that were impossible until they weren't. Music in your pocket. All the music in your pocket. All the information in the history of the world in your pocket. Pockets in your pockets. Hot pockets. A black president. Gay marriage. The internet. The electric vehicle. A Pakistani student defies the Taliban, survives a bullet to the head, and goes on to win a Nobel Peace Prize all before the age of 18. A quadruple amputee climbs to the surface of Mount Kilimanjaro. A white guy won the NBA dunk competition. Made a real white guy face when he did it too. Representing the culture. Malaria, no longer a death sentence. AIDS, no longer a death sentence. COVID, no longer a death sentence. It should remind us that now is not the time to revert to conventional wisdom. So, to go back to my original question to close this out, why is a non-politician, creative-type person talking about political polarization? I will now add to a room filled with non-politicians, creative-type people. Is that because this is deeper than politics? This isn't about the next person in a suit that we elect to represent us. This is about the way we move together. This is the music of the body politic. And we all have a part to play. The harmony and the dissonance, the swelling and the silences. It feels like we're maybe coming out of one of those silences now. And this work of breaking our binary mind is just one way of retuning our instrument, of reconnecting to the resonance with each other, and getting ready for the next movement. Thank you.
Oh my God, thank you.
Awesome.
Wow.
Great. All right, do I do it again now? Do it again? do the whole thing again. Is that what it do?
Yeah, maybe next week?
Oh, okay, cool.
We sometimes do recaps on Tuesday night here. Just come.
Yeah, human recap.
I mean, we're not gonna be here. That was amazing. Thank you so much for crystallizing this crossroads that we are at. I would love to ask if anyone has any questions. I mean, we have a lot of questions, I'm sure. Rebecca.
I love the talk, and obviously this is something that we're all thinking about bringing nuance back into our thinking. One thing that occurs to me is that we don't take enough accountability for the underlying factors of what we're affected by. In this case, algorithms, the media content, our friends, and that sort of thing. Do you have thoughts about observing your own landscape and trying to dismantle polarization within?
Yeah, I got thoughts. I don't know how many of them make sense right now. Like, this is work in progress. I don't have any conclusions, you know? I share this just as something that we're wrestling with. And I think maybe the whole thrust of this conversation is like, if we can talk about what we're wrestling with, maybe we get more clarity. But I do think it's that self-awareness. And real quick, based on what you said, I gotta plug my guy Radio B's album called The Internet is Fake.
Woo-hoo.
Brilliant piece of work that is all about the way the internet works on us and then how we work on each other from that.
Other questions? Oh, come on. I know this group has questions.
All right, while y'all are thinking of your questions, I'm gonna have one more shameless plug. So check out the album, and if you don't hate it, May 9th we're doing, I call it the Snowflake Salon at this awesome place downtown called The Basement. It's like literally an underground speakeasy. And we're gonna listen to the songs, we're gonna talk about what the meaning is, and we're gonna have conversations around like what this is triggering in you. So, and there'll be drinks and snacks. Yes, question?
I have a question. First of all, thank you for talking about this subject. It's really important, and I think that people in branding are really important people to be trying to figure out ways to solve this problem. I really like what you said earlier about how everybody has to kind of take their, accountability of their part in this, politics is division instead of, politics is part of helping us get the things that we need and want. I'm a little disheartened, though, about especially people in this room, when you say that some of the algorithms that are used in branding and marketing are used in politics, I feel that's disingenuous. All of the algorithms that are used in branding and marketing are now used in politics. And that's something that you guys, as a group, make a whole lot of money for a whole lot of people.
Yeah, guys, what the fuck?
Hold on. On one hand, you guys do really good at what you do, but on the other hand, nobody wants to say, hey, we're all being infected by stuff that we're all doing. And it's really important that creative people talk to other people about what is happening, because other people, non-creative types, we see this, and we're like, what the hell? I feel like people are talking out of two sides of their face. And so thank you for this conversation. And I entreat everyone to continue it with other people.
Yeah. Man, that's awesome.
It wasn't a question. I thought it was.
Yeah, it's not a question, but it was.
All right, Al.
That's real. That's the realness.
He's your hugger and high fiver at the end. Just FYI. Where everyone is welcome, right? Other questions?
Yeah, it's also a little bit less of a question and more, I want you to help us think through it, because in the same breath as saying, everyone is a special snowflake, you've got your own specific needs, desires, whatever, we're also talking about, well, groupthink, we all want to be on this side or that side, and so there's a little bit of hypocrisy going on, and, it's like, how do you reconcile that?
Yeah. That sounds like a binary choice right there, right? And I think it would be calling out that binary choice, because both things are true. The theme running through my album is we are all snowflakes and the summer's coming, which is like an acknowledgement that we all feel we are special, and really I believe we all sort of special in our own way, but when the summer's coming, man, we all gotta get together. And I think it's kind of situational and it's time-bound, and it's contextual. right? Where, yes, like we all need to celebrate what makes us unique, but we also need to know that in certain times in those moments of the crossroads, it's about seeking solidarity. It's a balance, it's not one or the other.
Hey, Matt.
What's that? Managing polarities, yeah. It's a good idea. It's not a right or wrong thing. It's finding that balance. Okay.
Your talk was a roller coaster in the most amazing way. I'm kind of curious, you took a often like heated and prickly subject. You had really clear insights and you talked about it in an incredibly creative way.
Great question. I love you. Thank you. The answer is yes.
My question is, do you mind pulling the curtain back on a little bit on like just how you approached this, how you got to the insights and how you put it into this?
Yeah, that's a great question. Y'all hang on for another 2.5 hours. Let me unpack this. I appreciate that. It is, I mean, it's truly just like I think a lot of art and expression is born from passion, and this has been something that's consumed me, and these are voices that go in my head every day when I'm taking a walk, when I'm, supposed to be paying attention to a meeting, and I'm going like, what the fuck's going on? And so it was a way, just like dumping it all out, My original draft of this, they're like, you got 20 minutes, and I ran through my first draft, and I was like, 45, cool. But so, yeah, I mean, just I think like any process, it's like follow the thread of what's, moving inside of you, get it all on paper, and then it's just a process of whittling it down.
Hello.
God? Oh, hello.
I want to double tap on something you said, which is related to the urgency of the decisions we're making and how everything feels like a threat. Yeah. Because I think that probably contributes to the binary thinking that we have in the world that we live in today. A lot of us are scared or like experiencing fears, whether it's from work or from politics or from whatever. Yeah. Can you go into that a little bit more?
Yeah, I mean, I think, again, I'm not like an anthropologist or, don't sue me for whatever advice I give. But for me, yeah, fear is an incredible mode. I mean, this is all fucking fear. This shit we're living through, it's fear and insecurity. That's it. No fear, no insecurity. We're not experiencing what we're experiencing right now. So I think it's acknowledging that and acknowledging like what just happened right there when your emotions, take hold of you. And I succeeded at a good 35% of the time. But I think acknowledging that is a start.
Okay, Mary, you got the last one.
I just wanted to mention, I'm with VPM, your local public media organization. Thank you. I just wanted to mention if y'all would go to protectmypublicmedia.com and just learn what's really going on up on the Hill from both sides. You'll be getting updates, and I just would like you to go to protectmypublicmedia.com. Thank you.
You're here. Yeah, awesome.
All right, shameless VPM plug. I like it, Mary. All right, Risa, do you have a question?
What organizations do you particularly follow, like Represent Us or Common Cause, that you think we should support and...
Yeah, no, this is where I turn the question around to you. How much time, my motivation was to spark these conversations because I have spent so much time sitting in front of my computer going, what organization do I need to volunteer? And I've volunteered with a lot and donated money to a lot. Rise for Youth here, Black Voters Matter, Virginia Climate Fund or something like that. There's so many that run in my head, but I haven't found my thing yet, man, and that's where I'm hoping to discover that. So please, let's get these conversations going and share. Because I'm always looking for where is that? I need a rhythm of being active in something so it feels like, in my own little way, I'm making progress.
Matt, thank you.
That was a cavalcade of non-answers. Hope you enjoyed that.
Well, we hope that you also share on the collaboration station if you want to have these conversations. We had Dominic and Carl recently as Creative Morning speakers where they do embrace spaces here in Richmond for solving community issues. We have a lot of great podcasts and shows on VPM asking a lot of these same questions. We're happy to also help facilitate some of these organizations. So please, that's why we ask you to also tag Creative Mornings and things, because we want to get some of these conversations started as well. Thank you so very much. Matt Brehony, everybody.